Hello, this is a support video for the week 6 C# challenge called frequent character, where you have to make a function called most frequent char. It accepts one parameter called input, which is a string, and you have to work out which character in that string occurs the most frequently. So the parameter that you get could be uppercase or lowercase. It could contain numbers. You ignore all of the numbers and you're only interested in the letters. You have to convert all of the uppercase characters into lowercase before you work out which one occurs the most frequently. So there's a couple of different approaches you could do here. You could loop through each letter in the alphabet and work out how many times that occurs and then sort those. Or you can loop through each letter in the input string and keep track of how many times each letter occurs. So I'm going to go for that second approach. So I'm going to need an array of integers that is used to keep track of how many times each letter occurs. So I'll call it letter count, and I'll make an array with just 26 integers, one for each letter of the alphabet. Then we should initialize the data. So let's make an array of integers, store how many times each letter occurs. Then we want to iterate through each one and set them to 0. So initialize the array to set all counts to 0. I don't know whether this is necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway just to show you how it's done. So we want to make something to count. We'll count with I, and we'll set it to 0 to begin with. I keeps going until it's just less than 26, and we increase I by 1 each time. So then the value in letter count at that position is just going to be set to 0. So we're saying we haven't come across any letter at all at the moment. Next, we want to count each letter, each occurrence of each letter. So we can loop through now each letter in our parameter. Our parameter is called input. So let's use I again. I is equal to 0. I is less than the length of input, and I increases by 1 each time. This time we need to work out what letter we've got. So we'll have a character, an individual single letter or digit. We'll call it C. And we'll get the letter at that position. So input square brackets I, because we're using I to loop through each position in input, that will get a character, but it might be a capital letter. So to convert it, we'll use the character class and convert it to lowercase by passing the character as a parameter. But it might be a space, it might be punctuation, and well, it might be anything other than a letter. So let's do some testing first. So if our character, and I kind of want to say if it's greater than A, the character A, and our character is less than Z, but that doesn't really work because it has to be is greater than or equal to A and is less than or equal to Z. I think that'll work. So that's checking to see if it's a character. If we don't do this, then it's going to look outside the bounds of this array here and we'll have an error. But assuming that we've got that, let's work out the position in the alphabet of the character that we're looking at. So we've got a character from our parameter input. Now we need to work out where we are in the alphabet, as in A is going to be 0, B is going to be 1, etc., etc. So position in alphabet. And how can we do that? Well, it's related to the character we're interested in, but we need to offset by the value for A. So A, the ASCII lowercase a, I've got no idea what it is, it's 100 and something or other. But whatever it is, we'll take it away from the value for the character we've got, so that we can just start with a lowercase a being 0. Once we've got the position with the alphabet, we can then use that as an index for this array. So letter count at the position in alphabet increases by 1 because we've just found a character. So the first value in this list will be a number that represents how many times you've got an A. The second value in this list will be a number that represents how many times you've got a B, all the way through to Z. Okay, so we've counted all of the characters here in that for loop. Finally, we want to work out the largest value here. Find most frequently occurring character. So I'm going to do, I suppose, a linear search here to try and find the largest value. So int largest value equals 0. We'll assume that the largest value we found so far is 0. We haven't found that character at all yet. We'll keep track of the character that has occurred the most frequently so far. And let's just set it to A to begin with. And our test data says that it will always contain at least one letter. So that A is going to be overwritten by something, we hope at least. All right, so let's loop through every letter in the alphabet. So for int I equals 0, I is less than 26 because Z is going to be 25, I++, increase I by 1. Okay, so now we want to do some selection. If the character at the position in letter count, so if letter count at I is greater than, so this is going to be the number of times this letter has occurred. If that's greater than the maximum we've found so far, then just update our maximum. So the largest value is now equal to what we've just found. And we need to remember which character we're looking at the moment. So the most frequent char is, okay, how do we do this? Well, it's going to be A plus I, but I think we're going to have an error here. Let's run it and see. I think I've got two errors here because I'm not actually returning anything. Let's have a look. Here we go. So we can't implicitly convert int to character on line 28. Here we go. So this is a character and this is an int. So we need to convert the whole thing to be a character so we can store it there. And then we'll add these two numbers together. I don't know whether those brackets are necessary. Then it might compile, but we'll still, oh no, we'll probably have a runtime error because we're not returning anything. Yeah, it doesn't return anything. So down here, we just want to return this. This is the character that occurs the most frequently. So that's what we'll return. Will it work? Let's see. Yeah, it does. So well done those of you that have done this before this support video is published. That's awesome. Congratulations. All the best. See you next week.